There are a ton of anime recommendation lists out there. A nearly as egregious amount of these lists are focused on recommendations for people who are not really into anime. So why am I making this video if there's so many already? Simple. I think a lot of these lists are shit. The ones that are suggesting anime to other anime fans are more often than not cheap and redundant. The videos targeting anime newbies, well, they encapsulate a lot of what I criticize about the anime community. It can be incredibly insular and ignorant to anything outside of its immediate vicinity. These videos highlight why we keep asking, how do I get my family and friends into anime? And yet we keep on pumping them out, with no end in sight. There's a communication failure going on between the anime community and those outside of it. I'm not saying I've come as some heroic evangelical who will have your parents watching Oreimo in a week's time, but I think I've come up with an interesting list of anime and strategies to sell the proverbial normies on them. So for now, I'm just going to run down 5 of them. Hunter x Hunter. If you're like me, and this is probably a very common position for anime fans, you grew up in the 90s. An era where you could get home from elementary or middle school and turn on Toonami, which is undoubtedly one of the biggest reasons for anime success here in the West. Dragon Ball Z is arguably the most significant contributor in this matter, and to this day I still see it talked about by people I know from high school that are not in any way, shape, or form anime fans, as we usually define them. Dragon Ball Z simply had that big of a cultural zeitgeist behind it. So how do you go about getting that friend who loved Dragon Ball Z as a kid and may even have watched it recently to relive their childhood into Hunter x Hunter? That's easy enough. Simply tell them that Hunter x Hunter has all the big over-the-top battles involving people with magical abilities that go on grand adventures just like Dragon Ball Z. This is obvious enough to anime fans that know what it means to say something is a big traditional battle shonen anime, but non-anime fans don't have even the slightest inclination for what any of what I just said means. It's also much shorter than the Dragon Ball series, or similar offerings like Naruto, though still hefty at 148 episodes. Then again, Americans are used to watching shows with 45 to 55 minute episodes that span across 6 to 8 seasons with totally just as much, if not more, time investment. Even so, as we get older, it's a hell of a lot easier to convince people to do something or get into the thing that you love when you say, hey, this isn't going to take up 2 months of your time. Really though, Hunter x Hunter is the best of the battle shonen anime. It can be a tad more mature than its counterparts. It still works with all the same genre trappings, it simply does them better than most in every regard. As far as dub versus subs go, there is no dub, so you're gonna have to tough it out for this one. Ghost in the Shell, the 1995 film. When the Wachowski sisters were shopping the Matrix around to movie studios, they did so by showing producers Ghost in the Shell and saying, we want to make this but for real. Seeing as The Matrix, at least the first, cemented itself as a highly influential and beloved film worldwide, selling your friends on Ghost in the Shell should be pretty easy. Just say you're gonna watch The Matrix, but in anime form. The notion of what it means to be human in an increasingly technological fueled world, the incredible action, even motifs such as the digital rain, and the opening shots of the heroines falling from buildings of each film, they're totally one for one. And it's not just The Matrix that takes influence from Ghost in the Shell. The sci-fi genre owes a lot to this film. I'm not sure we would have a lot of the stuff that we enjoy here in the West without it. Films like Spielberg's AI and Minority Report, as well as the 2015 film Ex Machina. Ghost in the Shell is utterly gorgeous in every capacity. I wouldn't blame anyone for opting to go with a dub. More importantly though, just make sure you don't watch any of the redone versions, and stick to the one I linked in the description below. Spirited Away. I don't deny the fact that I too, like most watching this video, believe anime to be an undervalued medium. Obvious enough, I hope, given the sentiment of this video. Like video games, comics, and other such traditionally nerdy pursuits, a lot of folks are always trying to find ways to justify why their favorite mediums are important works of art. What better way to say that about anime than by pointing to Academy Award nominated, winning, and recently Lifetime Achievement honored director Hayao Miyazaki. And if you're going to be pointing his way, you best start with Spirited Away, the film that netted him the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature in 2003. If further convincing is needed, then bring up the fact that Studio Ghibli is often called the Disney of Japan. So much so that Disney even bought them up several years ago. While Spirited Away is more mature than pretty much any Disney film, Studio Ghibli has that same childlike, wide-eyed charm you would expect from anything bearing the Disney brand. Fortunately, the dub is very good. It may not be the most star-studded Studio Ghibli dub, given the likes of Anne Hathaway, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Dakota Fanning, and Matt Damon have all appeared in the past. However, that doesn't mean Disney didn't handle the castings quite well. Death Note. In the West, especially in America, crime dramas are an incredibly popular genre, and the lexicon of it is ingrained in our understanding of entertainment. Between the procedurals like CSI and Law & Order, to the likes of True Detective, I'm not sure you could find many people who haven't seen and enjoyed such a show. Death Note often comes up in these conversations, and rightfully so. When I really started getting into anime about 7 years ago, Death Note was one of the very first I watched. There's just so much mainstream appeal here. I'll point to an old blog of mine I wrote ages ago for my rationale here. Death Note is a lot like the Showtime drama Dexter. There's a supernatural twist to the chess match of intellects that is so popular in American crime dramas such as Dexter, and both protagonists kill criminals to make the world a better place. Mix in a fall from grace of an anti-hero, not an uncommon theme in cynical Western entertainment, and you've got Death Note. As for all the dub versus sub business, I think this is a good spot to help sell the subtitles uninclined on subtitles. The slower pace and lack of flashy action makes it easier to keep up with both reading and watching at the same time. Psycho-Pass. As I stated before, crime dramas are something a Western viewer should be quite comfortable with. Psycho-Pass is that, but with a techno-thriller mix. List out some of the major influences on Psycho-Pass: Minority Report, Blade Runner, and LA Confidential. It starts to become very clear why this show has succeeded outside of Japan. Psycho-Pass is storytelling which is familiar to an HBO drama, a plot that weaves itself over the course of the season in a methodical style imbued with characters and deep conversations about their moral and philosophical beliefs, all laid upon the police drama. In fact, the first half dozen episodes pretty much have the same formula as Law & Order. Criminal activity emerges, the detectives hit the labs and the streets, and in the end, the bad guy's caught. Psycho-Pass is also one of those shows you can sell on the premise alone. A world in which Japan has become nearly devoid of crime thanks to an AI system that directs everyone's lives in a surveillance state. Crimes are prevented in advance by a formula the AI uses to determine how likely someone is to commit a crime even before they do so. Given this and the setting, this is all quite familiar to the aforementioned Minority Report, Blade Runner, and the author who inspired all these works, Philip K. Dick, who is best known for his novels Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and The Man in the High Castle. Like Death Note, this isn't a high-paced action show, though it does happen more often. Diving into the world of anime means you'll need to learn to like subtitles, and thus Psycho-Pass is not a shabby spot to ease into subs. So that's the 5 I'll talk about for now. I do have a list of about 20 other recommendations that are a little less common, which I plan on getting to in the near future. As always, like, subscribe, all that nonsense, it is very much appreciated. I do try to get up a video per week. Don't hold me to it though, I'm not a professional. Though hey, if you support me in this matter, maybe I will be someday.